This is BAWLER. Hello, I have prepared an important and interesting video for you. Subscribe and write in the comments what you think about it. When Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, many military experts around the world assumed Ukraine would inevitably lose its access to the Black Sea. At that time, Ukraine's navy consisted of just one frigate and a few patrol boats, while Russia's Black Sea fleet boasted around 80 warships and submarines. It seemed almost certain that Moscow would achieve full control of the sea. For the first few months, that expectation became reality. Russia established dominance over the waters, but something completely unexpected happened. Ukraine, against all odds, revolutionized naval warfare, not just evening the odds, but dismantling centuries of Russian naval dominance. By the middle of 2025, Ukraine had damaged or destroyed at least 24 Russian vessels, including the Kilo-class submarine Rostov-on-Don. This forced the remainder of Russia's Black Sea fleet to retreat to ports inside Russian territory, where they became largely useless. In total, about 30 ships and submarines were either sunk or heavily damaged, including the fleet's flagship, a staggering loss worth billions of dollars, inflicted by a nation that, on paper, had virtually no navy. Those ships that survived became little more than target practice for Ukraine's rapidly expanding long-range naval strike capabilities. The numbers, however, tell only part of the story. What Ukraine accomplished is perhaps the most dramatic naval upset in modern history. The tactics developed during this war are set to reshape the future of naval combat worldwide. 10 revolutionary methods allowed Ukraine to turn what was once considered an unstoppable Russian Black Sea fleet into a strategically crippled force. The first and perhaps most important factor was that Ukraine succeeded because it was forced to think differently. With an asymmetric war at sea, Ukraine avoided playing by Russia's rules, instead rethinking and redeveloping its strategies over and over again. Defensive methods became deadly weapons when combined with precise intelligence and flexibility. Russian naval doctrine, rooted in Soviet-era thinking, relied on large coordinated fleet operations controlled by centralized command, powerful but predictable. Ukraine's decentralized approach, built on survival instincts, anticipated and countered those movements. The result was three key developments: extensive use of naval mines, deployment of coastal cruise missiles, and creation of naval drones. Ukraine began with a stockpile of Soviet-era naval mines, placing hundreds in strategic locations to block Russia's likely invasion routes along the coast. Russia also laid its own mines, particularly around Odessa, attempting to strangle Ukraine's maritime trade. Each side accused the other of placing drifting mines in the deeper Black Sea waters, but Ukraine's careful placement allowed its own shipping to continue while denying access to Russian vessels. The second breakthrough came with the upgraded RK-360MC Neptune coastal defense system, capable of launching missiles up to 730 miles. When combined with short-range coastal artillery and minefields, Ukraine built a deadly defensive triangle that could keep Russian ships at bay. However, Ukraine's most transformative innovation was its naval drones. Starting from nothing in early 2022, Ukraine developed the Magura V-5, a small high-speed unmanned vessel with a range of 500 miles, 60 hours of battery life, a cruising speed of 22 knots, and a warhead of 440 pounds. Operating alone or in swarms, these drones struck with precision, live streaming video to operators hundreds of miles away. The heavier SeaBaby drone carried 1,900 pounds of explosives, reached speeds of 56 miles per hour, and could travel 620 miles, making it perfect for destroying docked ships or port infrastructure. In 2024, Ukraine also unveiled the smaller, stealthier Stalker 5.0, optimized for both transport and attack missions. Night operations became a Ukrainian specialty. Equipped with thermal imaging and advanced communication systems, these drones allowed Ukrainian operators to strike unseen, while Russian crews fired blindly into the dark. Ukraine even adapted naval drones to carry machine guns and air-to-air missiles, shooting down Russian helicopters, and in 2025, even two Su-30SM fighter jets. These capabilities, combined with the use of mines, restored Ukraine's ability to export goods by sea. Breaking Russia's blockade, which had cut Ukraine's exports by nearly half in early 2022, became one of the war's most significant economic victories. By the end of 2024, Ukraine was exporting almost 90 million tons of goods annually, including billions of dollars worth of grain, directly funding its war effort. The sinking of the Moskva in April 2022, Russia's Black Sea flagship, was the symbolic turning point. 2 Neptune missiles destroyed the vessel, revealing severe flaws in Russia's supposedly advanced defenses. This was the largest warship lost in combat since World War II, and it crippled Russian command and control capabilities in the Black Sea. Geopolitical and logistical constraints worsened Russia's situation. The Montreux Convention prevented reinforcement from other fleets, corruption hollowed out ship maintenance, and Turkey's restrictions forced reliance on vulnerable shadow fleets. Ukraine exploited these weaknesses with infrastructure attacks, such as repeated strikes on the Kerch Bridge, forcing Russian naval forces into defensive roles and pushing them to abandon Sevastopol. Relocating to ports like Novorossiysk and Taganrog increased fuel use, reduced patrol times, and cut operational efficiency. By spring 2024, Britain's defense ministry declared the Russian Black Sea Fleet functionally inactive. Ukraine achieved all this through distributed innovation. Over 500 suppliers, from large companies to small workshops, rapidly iterating designs and sharing improvements through the Delta information system. Russian defense industries, by contrast, were bogged down in bureaucracy, underfunding, and corruption. Finally, NATO and European partners provided funding, intelligence, training, and even complete platforms for Ukraine's naval drone program. The Magura and SeaBaby cost a fraction of the ships they destroy, creating an unmatched return on investment. The war has become a live testing ground for asymmetrical naval warfare, with lessons that could shape conflicts far beyond Ukraine, including a potential defense of Taiwan. By proving that innovation and adaptability can overcome superior numbers, Ukraine has rewritten the future of naval combat. This war will be remembered not only for its battles on land, but for how a nation with virtually no navy transformed the Black Sea into a graveyard for Russian warships.